if you think about newborn babies, they cry every 3 to 4 hours when they're hungry. They're fed, they move on.
Yeah.
And in fact, they push the spoon away when they're done because they want no more. But then something happens a little bit later, a couple years later, when our mothers say to us, no, you're not hungry, your father's not home yet. And now we lose the ability to know when we're actually hungry. And we start eating by time on a clock, or by when daddy gets home, or numerous other things. And we're told at work that we have to eat between certain hours. And so all of our instincts are taken away from us, and they're replaced by time.
Yeah. This is such an important thing. You know, living our life by our instincts rather than by these external things.
Yes.
You've also created quite a few CDs.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. What are the names of a couple of those?
I created the subjects that I felt people needed the most. Self-esteem, because you take it or the lack of it everywhere you go. Anger, how to diminish anger. Fear, because it's just so all-consuming. We have to learn how to get rid of fear. I made a DVD actually after I got cancer on learned optimism, because I felt it was totally appropriate for what I had learned, and undieting, a book and a CD.
That's fantastic. You had an 8-hour operation.
Yes.
It's unimaginable. And then after your operation, chemo.
Yes. Several times.
Several times.
Yes.
And you got down to a point you were skin and bones.
Yes. I looked like a human skeleton, Steve. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. But it was when I became that skeleton that I made a very powerful decision for my life. And that was that I needed to save my own life. That it wasn't, the doctors could do their work, but if I didn't change my attitude and make a decision to live, I knew I wasn't going to make it. I was really at death's doorstep. And also, they told me I was going to lose my leg, I caught the shingles, and that they might have to amputate, and all of it became so overwhelming that I made that decision to live and to change my life, and I know that that's why I'm still here. And I know that that's what I have to teach other people.
And your husband, Gary, you would continue lecturing after you started becoming well again, and he would be in the front row to catch you in case you fell over. Did you ever fall over?
Not on stage, but that's an interesting story because I had chemo so intense that they gave me a bag to carry. I had to have 24-hour-day chemo. So I would literally stand on stage because I believed that I was supposed to do my job in spite of what I was dealing with. And so I kept on working, and I would deliver my lectures on stage with my chemo bag, and my husband would sit in the front row because I was fainting all over town, and he was afraid I would faint and nobody would catch me. So I was in pretty bad shape.
Amazing. Oh my gosh.
And look at me now.
Yeah. Really? When you came to Maui, this is unheard of. I don't know if this happened to anybody else. I've never heard of this. They comped you a first-class ticket?
Yes.
How did that happen? What happened?
Well, I'm a little embarrassed to tell you, but I got on the plane and my doctor had just told me, go to Maui, it's going to be your last trip. So I told it to the lady taking tickets at the counter of the airlines. I said, my doctor told me it's going to be my last trip, and he wrote me this letter. I said, if you have any extra seats in first class, I would sure love it. And boy, I was moved up there with my husband and got a bottle of champagne to boot.
Okay, so there's some heart in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of heart in people. They really do care.
Well, speaking about that, back to sex.
Yes.
You've talked about the different dynamic with men and women, and how particularly women tend to be multitaskers.
Yes.
And in some way, from your experience, you describe how that might be a distraction in sex, while men, are one thing at a time. Speak about that. I thought that was very interesting.
Thank you.
Of course. Anything about sex is interesting.
Well, as long as we're just being free and open.
Yes.
I always wondered about sex and how much of it was mental and how much of it was physical and how much of it was by vision. And so I've always been really interested in it. And I know that men have something called wet dreams, but I never thought that women did until one day when I woke up that way. And I was amazed, because what I realized at that moment was, if that can happen without any touching, purely through my sleep and my mind, then that means that sex is pretty much all in the mind.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I realized by helping a lot of couples is that women have an especially hard time turning off their minds to all the things that they think about so that they can put their minds into sex. Whereas men, I think, I know I'm generalizing, but men as a whole, they can look at something and go, boing, that's it, you know. Whereas I think women have to put away so much. And what I learned is that it's easy to do that by replacing all that multitasking with thinking about sex and how much fun it is. And if you think about it long enough, you start to think about having it, and the rest is what we all know.
Okay, this is good. This is good stuff.
For men and women.
Good stuff. You were born in Cleveland, raised in Miami Beach. There's a story of a healer in Hawaii, a Hawaiian healer.
Yes.
What happened with that?
We had been seeking out a healer when we came here because my color was so bad and I was feeling so bad that it didn't look good. And a friend, you know, talk about what you're looking for appears. A friend said she knew a Japanese healer who she wanted to get to help me. I said yes. We went to her house. He sang and chanted with me. The entire room started to shake. Thank goodness my husband and another woman were there to see it, because it's the kind of thing, you know, you don't believe unless you have witnesses. My color came back. He made me drink gallons and gallons of water, and everything switched for me. I became well.
Yeah, you said he sent you away with something like a 5-gallon thing of water.
He did.
And back to the poop subject. It was the first poop you took in 2 months, which is unthinkable.
Actually, it was 2 weeks.
Oh,
but
2
that
weeks.
Still was unthinkable because it's way too long.
Yeah.
But you know, in addition to that, when you come to Hawaii and you're stage 4, you're allowed to use any alternative medicine you want. And I have actually had a friend.
Is that so?
Yes.
Medical insurance pays for it?
Yes.
My goodness.
And I have actually had a friend introduce me to a machine that I truly believe is keeping me alive now. It's the most amazing thing. It creates an energy field that I believe keeps my body healthy.